were crack at dawn, Monday morning coffee strong, pouring everything you got into a paycheck Friday night. You were power stroke, diesel backhoe riding, king of beers, 18-wheeler driving, living life in between the lines of clocking in and quitting time. But then the six-string circus comes to town. We hang them speakers over the crowd. When the lights come on, everybody screaming, lighters in the sky, yeah, everybody singing every word to every song of the girl they're taking home tonight. When the lights come on, everybody's feeling a hallelujah high from the floor to the ceiling. Yeah, the drink that we're drinking, the smoke that we're smoking, the party we're throwing, it's going all night long. When the lights come on, when the lights come on. You're a little shy thing with a wild side. On a night like this, you just can't hide, cause it's time to live it up. So come on and raise your cup. If we talk about memories, yeah, we're gonna make them. Talking about rules, you know we're gonna break them. When the lights come on, everybody screaming, lighters in the sky, yeah, everybody singing every word to every song of the girl they're taking home tonight. When the lights come on, everybody's feeling a hallelujah high from the floor to the ceiling. Yeah, the drink that we're drinking, the smoke that we're smoking, the party we're throwing, it's going all night long. When the lights come on, when the lights come on. Yeah, we all the same cause we thinking the same thing. We on the same page cause we sipping the same drink. Here's a little something to thank y'all for showing up. Aldine and the boys are about to blow it up. When the lights come on and everybody's screaming, lighters in the sky, yeah, everybody's singing every word to every song of the girl they're taking home tonight. When the lights come on, everybody's feeling a hallelujah high from the floor to the ceiling. Yeah, the drink that we're drinking, the smoke that we're smoking, the party we're throwing, it's going all night long. When the lights come on, when the lights come on, your buzz blowing it up, it's going all night long. When the lights come on.
I am here with Scott Ash, Middletown graduate, class of 2019. Scott played quarterback for the Middletown Blue Raiders as a starter in 2017 and 2018. In his sophomore year, he played behind Chase Snavely in 2016. Scott, thank you for joining me. I appreciate your time.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. You played the seasons of 2016, 17, and 18 under head coach Brett Myers. Do you mind describing Brett Myers, what he meant to you and the program and the culture he had with Middletown football?
Coach Myers meant everything. He definitely helped me learn the quarterback position in depth, more so than when I was younger. Him and Chase both did that. Coach Myers definitely dedicates a lot of time to his players and spent a lot of time with me in the film room and helped educating me, not just about quarterback, but also about the game in general.
Were there any other coaches that made an impression, impacted you as a player or a person?
I would say Coach Ortiz. Had a pretty good impact on me as well. He was my quarterback coach my junior and senior year. And he definitely took time to help me out with being a better quarterback or the best possible player I could be. And he was hard, but he was also genuine with everything that he did. He wanted to make sure that no matter what, I was going to be ready to go for every game and every practice, no matter what.
Did you have any teams that you enjoyed playing against more than others or beating them more than others?
Steel High was definitely one. Um, I enjoyed beating Scranton Prep, um, just based off the fact that they were a prep school and we were just a small town school. That was it. It just showed the focus, will to win, and the kind of the heart aspect of the game. Who wanted it more a little bit. I enjoyed beating them. Um, Total respect to them, though. Obviously, they were a tough opponent, but I liked beating them too.
What would a typical game day be like for you?
So obviously, morning, you wake up. I would always have to have a couple of eggs with bacon because I'm a little superstitious like that. Um, but on the way to school, it was always some kind of pump up music, maybe a remix or something, just to get you a little amped up before your day in school. Um, while you're going through school, even though you're in school and you're focusing on classes, you can't help but think about the game for most of the day. Um, the energy was just, it was surreal most of the day. You were just excited and the adrenaline was going through you for most of the day. Um, when I finally would get through the school day, I would take my walk down to the locker room. I would put my headphones in. I'd pretty much just kind of zone in with myself, watching tape, listening to music, go eat a pregame meal, and after that, it was just going through the plays right before the game, just to make sure everything was going well.
So you mentioned music several times, so I love asking this question. What was your go-to music to get you ready for the game?
Uh, I used to like to listen to Meek Mill before the games.
It's game day, okay? So you guys are at the field, you're in the locker room before the game. What was that environment like and how did it feel being in there?
The excitement level was uh, incredible. There's no better feeling than that. But at the same time, we all knew in the locker room before we headed out to the bus to go to War Memorial Field, it was a calm. No one talked. Everyone was just focused on their jobs for the game and what they had to do to help us succeed. Wasn't until about right before we made that walk or that run onto the field in the locker room where we got amped up and fired up, ready to go.
And what was it like running onto War Memorial Field for you?
Oh, it's probably the best thing ever, honestly. I mean, you have the Middletown fans sitting there, not even sitting there, standing there screaming, yelling, cheering you guys on. You got the band playing, everyone, the cheerleaders lined up, smoke machine out, everything. It was just absolutely amazing. It was awesome.
How would you describe Middletown football fans?
Middletown football fans are not like any other fans. They support us through the ups and downs of the season. They're always there. They're always cheering us on. I like to say that we have expect the fans have expectations from us, and if we don't, you know, reach or fill those expectations that they have, they'll let us know about it. And I actually like that because it kind of lights a fire under the players a little bit to get going.
Did you have any Blue Raiders that you looked up to or respected?
Uh, I would say the entire senior class from my sophomore year in 2016, that entire senior class. I looked up to all of them because they set the bar high. They set the standard of what Middletown football is all about. And they really showed us what it takes to get to that state level.
What do you miss most about playing Middletown football?
Uh, Suiting up with all my brothers and just being able to run out onto the field with all of them and being out in front of the crowd and just having fun.
Do you have a favorite Middletown football player of all time?
I wouldn't really say I have a favorite football player, but one that stuck out from when I was younger was Rodney Ramsey. I really liked watching him play. He definitely knew how to how do I want to word this? Definitely knew how to force the ball down the other team's throat every time he ran. I like that.
Did you have a favorite teammate?
Uh, I would say my not just one teammate. I had my favorite teammates were my line. Uh, Going with Joey Gusler, Cole Sr., Morgan Billman, Colin Hefner, Ethan Miller, Brendan Douglas. All of those guys were my favorites because they protected me and made sure that we were all good to go.
Scott, you wore jersey number 19. Is there any particular reason why you wore 19?
No particular reason. The reason I had number 19 was because I missed jersey selection my sophomore year, and it was the number Coach Myers gave me.
Did you go on to play any football after Middletown, after graduating high school?
Nope. The state championship of 2018 was the last time I played football.
And do you mind sharing what you've been doing since graduating high school?
Yeah, so I attend Hood College in Frederick, Maryland. I major in criminal justice down there. I'm currently a sophomore, and I'm also on the baseball team down there.
Do you have any other memories that you'd like to share about your experiences with Middletown football?
I'll say general memories are the pregame speeches the coaches would give. Those were probably my second favorite thing on game day. First would be the game, obviously, but the second was the pregame speeches because the pregame speeches the coaches would give us were some of the most firing. They would fire you up to within you had to try and keep calm and remember that you still have a game to play.
Scott, 2016, you were a sophomore. You were playing behind Chase Snavely, who had a very successful career and year that year. You guys ended up going to the state championship game, first time in Middletown football history. Can you just talk about things you might have learned from Chase Snavely or how he affected you being a sophomore and him being a senior?
Uh, Chase definitely took me under his wing my sophomore year. He showed me how to run the offense, how to read defenses, what is expected of you being Middletown's quarterback. He also showed me how to handle the pressure of being Middletown's quarterback, all the responsibilities that come with it. Um, Chase definitely set the bar high uh, for what is expected of the leadership role for Middletown.
And coming into that season, do you remember, like, did you expect that you guys were going to be that good? Like, did you envision going to a state championship game?
I'd be lying if I said that I envisioned we were going to be going to a state championship game. I knew we were going to be good. I didn't realize we were going to be that good. But it just goes to show what happens when you have a team that's fully dedicated.
Scott, 2016, you guys were 14-1. Captains were Hunter Landis, Griffin Radaball, and Corbin Stetler. Like we mentioned before, Chase Snavely was the starting quarterback of this season. Guys had a phenomenal year, just a terrific offense. even putting up 69 points in one game against Trinity, 50 in another, and then just a whole string of 40-point games, just video game type numbers for a certain stretch of the season there. Smashing Steel High, one of our rivals, make it to playoffs. No problem really with any of those. Do you mind just talking about the running backs you had that year and what it was like for you personally to kind of witness that?
So the running backs we had that year were Jalen Thompson and Brady Fox, with Corbin Steller also getting some carries, and Jose Lopez got in there towards the end. He started to basically show everybody who he was at the end of the season there. Watching those guys run was just electrifying. I mean, I've never seen so many people run so fast in my life, but they could absolutely fly when they hit that field. I mean, I it's indescribable how great they were. I mean, obviously, they showed us they helped obviously push us towards that state championship. Them and Chase were two of the main factors plus our defense, but our running backs were absolute workhorses.
Is there anything you want to share about anything personally that happened during the season?
Uh, I'll say this, the Steel High game, I remember I got in towards the end, and I kind of had my welcome to high school football moment. Um, all I did was hand the ball off, but I got absolutely crushed by like, two defensive linemen that somehow just like split in on me, and I've never been hit that hard in my entire life, ever. Not even when I started.
You guys make it to the state championship game at Hershey Park. What was that feeling like?
That was surreal. I mean, in that moment, you're kind of there, and you're just thinking to yourself, "This is a once in a lifetime opportunity." You're just trying to take it all in, but you're also trying to not let your emotions get the best of you while you're there. Trying to stay calm, even when you're not. The players that weren't even playing were still shaking on the sidelines. Now, it was super cold, but they weren't shaking from the cold. They were shaking from the excitement of everything that was happening at that moment.
So do you think you were aware of the significance of how important that was to Middletown as a program?
I didn't realize how significant it was until we came out from the tunnel and I saw all the fans that were in the stands. It looked like all of Middletown was there, and that was amazing and crazy to see.
Do you think Middletown had a better turnout as far as fans for any of the 3 years that you guys were in the state championship games?
Definitely.
Which year?
Um, I would say that first year they traveled the best. I would say they supported us the best that first year.
Scott, 2017, before you start the season, was there a quarterback competition? Did you have to beat out some others to get that starting spot?
There was there was a little bit of a competition. Um, the coaches wanted to see and wanted to test us, and obviously, they did that. Um, but even throughout the season, they still incorporated other quarterbacks. So along with me, we still had Trey Leach that would get reps in there, and Tyre Mills. So the coaches tried to apply our strengths from all of us that were trying out for that position.
Going into the 2017 season, what were your expectations? Did you expect to get to another state championship game?
That year, we all expected as a team to get back to the state championship game. We definitely all came in with one goal in mind, and that was to get back to where we were from the year before.
Now, we all know Middletown has traditionally been run-based, right? Run the football. And we had some amazing running backs in 2017 that put up just great numbers. But I think your numbers should be appreciated as well because you were throwing the ball a decent amount. So for 2017, you completed 76 out of 151 passes for just a little bit over 50% completion rate, 1,420 yards, and 11 TDs and 6 interceptions. That's a pretty successful season. And I don't know if you're aware of it, but if you look at Middletown quarterbacks throughout history, some of them, most of them don't complete or even attempt 76 passes in their careers.
Oh, wow.
So there is a big difference between the type of offense you guys had, the RPO, the run pass option type spread offense. But I think ultimately it speaks volumes about just how powerful you guys were as an offense and the things you guys could do. So you had Trey Leach, Kyle Truesdale, and Blake Jacoby as your captains. You start out the season with Lower Dauphin. So you play Lower Dauphin and win the Iron Spikes trophy there, 24-7 to start off the season. Northern York, 35-0, put up 63 points on West Perry, 63-7. So at this point, you guys are 3-0. You're kind of rolling just like you were the year before. Anything you want to point out from any of these first 3 games?
One memory in particular that I remember from the Lower Dolphin game was we had a 4th and 8, and I completed a post to Chris Plummer, got us down to like I want to say the 5-6 yard line for a first down, gave us 1st and goal. I think it was right before the half, and it was like the next day. Coach Myers came up to me in film, and he was hyped up, and he was happy that I did that. And he was like, "That takes guts to do that." And then he goes, "Did you even realize what down it was?" And I looked at him and I went, "No, I had no idea." I didn't. I was so caught up in just trying to complete a pass, I didn't even think of what down or distance we had. That was pretty funny.
Then we go into East Pennsboro. You guys win 42-7. And then you have a shootout against Trinity, 45-34. You mind just talking about that game?
That game was intense. That was probably one of the most electrifying games I've ever been a part of. It just seemed like everything we did, it was just a back and forth shootout. No matter what, everything we did, they had an answer for. And the one thing that stuck out to me was Coach Myers. Every time they scored or something, he would look at me and he would go, he was like, "This is what we're made for." He was like, "This is what we want." He was like, "You want intense games like this." He was like, "This is what we want. Keep going." He was like, "The tempo is the tempo. Everything's." He just seems so calm, and I'm like, I don't know how you're staying so calm right now. I was like, everything we're doing, they have an answer for. But it's just his game plan and his mindset about everything that it just kept us going through, and it ended up helping us tough a basically tough a win out.
Were you throwing a lot that game, or was it still more running the ball?
Uh, we ran the ball a little bit more, but we had from all 3 phases of the game we scored from. I remember Trey Leach had a pick 6 early on. Jose Lopez ran a kickoff back right before halftime. I think Trinity ran a kickoff back, and then we got the ball, and Jose ran a kickoff back then. But yeah, I mean, I threw a couple touchdowns, one to Tyre right down the middle of the field. But it was just a mixture of all 3 phases of the game. that we had success with, even though it was a complete shootout.
All right, so you get past your first real big challenge of the season with that Trinity win, 45-34. The next week was another tough one, a 7-point victory against Paul Meyer. Anything you want to point out from that game?
That just felt like an old school football game. That was just tough hitting, tough everything. I mean, that was a run-based game. I'm trying to think what it was. Oh, there was one moment in the game, Jose Lopez scored a touchdown. I have no idea how he did it, but he had like 3 guys on him, and you couldn't even see him anymore. They were all wrapped up around him, and then out of nowhere, it was just like poof, he was out and gone for a touchdown, and it ended up giving us the lead, and then ended up giving us the winning touchdown. That was pretty incredible to see, and I still to this day have no idea how he did that.
I know. Because you know nobody's going to be there to protect you. Look out for you.
I'm sure you saw a lot of amazing plays right after just handing that ball off to some of the running backs.
Yeah, most definitely. They were pretty amazing.
All right, so you beat Paul Meyer 17-10. The next week is homecoming, a 49-0 win against Camp Hill. Always good to win on homecoming. Anything you want to share about that game?
The starters were out by halftime from that game.
So you win against Camp Hill on homecoming, 49-0. Score 57 on Boiling Springs, 45 against Milton Hershey, and 45 against Steel High. The most any of those teams score against you guys is 7 points. So at this point, you guys are a well-oiled machine. Your defense is solid. Obviously, the offense is clicking. And after that Steel High game, you guys are going into playoffs. Now you're playing Bermudian Springs. Do you remember anything going into that Bermudian Springs game, or can you just talk about what you remember from that game?
From that game alone, I remember going into it. We knew it was going to be tough. We didn't realize how tough, but we knew they were going to be tough because we've never played them before. We had limited game film on them, obviously. But one thing that sticks out in particular is that I think it was right before halftime, Brady Fox got hurt, and it's funny. My college roommate is from Bermudian Springs, and he tells me all the time we didn't know who Jose was. Well, then Jose in that game in the second half ended up having like 5 touchdowns with over 200 yards or something like that. And that was pretty. That's always pretty funny to hear about when he talks to me about that.
Was your roommate a football player too?
Yeah, he played outside linebacker. We kind of bullied him that game a little bit.
So you guys beat Bermudian Springs pretty handily, 42-7, and then you play Wyomissing. Now, Wyomissing during these years, you played them in 2016. You beat them 48-20, and that was for the district championship. Here we are, 2017. Again, district championship game, Hershey Park Stadium. I'm sure they wanted some revenge on you guys. What do you remember about that Wyomissing game in 2017?
That Wyomissing game was extremely cold and windy. So windy that I remember my pass touchdown to Ryan Hughes in that game. I threw out in front of him on a seam, and it ended up being back shoulder. The wind took it that much. also remember there was one play that really hyped us all up was on kickoff. Their one guy, I don't know if it was the wind held the ball up or something, but it seemed like as soon as he got the ball, Kyle Truesdale just folded the kid right in half.
So not only do you win your district championship game, but you just destroy while missing 49-0. And then you're going up against Scranton Prep. Again, this is the team you faced in 2016. This is at Bethlehem. What do you remember from that Scranton Prep game?
I remember the fans traveled pretty well there. Again, it's that playoff time of year. It was another really cold game. I remember right before halftime, I think we threw 2 post patterns, one to Ryan Hughes, and Ryan Ryan had a few jukes that took us down, ended up going to like the 10-yard line, and then I threw another post the next play to Chris Plummer. To this day, I think he was in, but we'll say he was down at the inch-yard line. And then Brady Fox ended up punching it in right before halftime, and it seemed like right when we did that, we pretty much the will of Scranton Prep kind of went away. It just seemed like we had broken their will.
The year before, you beat Scranton Prep 40-13. In 2017, you shut them out 35-0. Second straight shutout in the playoffs. And you guys are on to the Eastern Finals against the team Conwell Egan. So you go up against Conwell Egan in the Eastern Finals. This was at Westchester Ruston.
Yep.
Neutral site game. What do you remember from that game?
I remember getting to the field and looking at bleachers before anyone was even there, and the whole time I just thought, these bleachers aren't going to hold our fan base. I was just like, it's not going to hold our fan base. And then we came out right before the start of the game, and it was just from top to bottom, it looked like there was just a bunch of minions piled up on top of one another. And then the fence line was just scattered with people, and I was just like, they should have brought in extra bleachers for this. The whole time, the first thought was that. I was just like, our fan base is going to kill this place. The game itself was actually pretty warm for a November, early December game. It was like 50 degrees, so it was like perfect weather. I remember that. It just seemed like everything we did that game was right. Like it just seemed like our game plan, everything went into play real well.
The Conwell Egan football team didn't look intimidated coming into Saturday's state semifinal game against 13-0 Middletown. The Eagles had just knocked off an undefeated team in District 11 champion Palisades in the quarterfinals the previous week. But Middletown quickly showed that this was going to be a completely different story. The Blue Raiders out of District 3 dominated on both sides of the ball, leading by 4 touchdowns before Conwell Egan even got on the board, and ending the Eagles' remarkable season with a 49-7 victory that sent them on to the state title game in Hershey.
Again, you guys have reached your goal. You are back in the state championship game at Hershey Park Stadium, going up against another District 7 team. This time it's Quaker Valley, a very, very good team. talk about that state championship game and your memories from that.
So that one was pretty cool. It was the snow game. Playing in the snow was pretty neat. It was pretty cool. But it was unforgiving when throwing the football. Everything was wet, slippy. Um, just in general, it was a tough game. It was tough for us, especially being back there to lose again. But it was surreal to be out there playing in the snow and everything, and just trying to win a state championship.
Do you remember the bus ride home at all?
Silent. We were crushed.
Same for 2016.
Yep.
So I'll tell you my little story of this game. 2017. I live in Georgia right now. So at that time, I was the director of this school, which meant I had the keys to the building, right?
Yep.
So you guys played on a Saturday, which meant I went down to my work, and that's 30 minutes away. I drove to work, and it's a school, so we got smart boards.
Yeah.
I subscribed to whatever link I needed to subscribe to and put it up on the smart board. And I was watching it with my coworker from Georgia. He played college ball. He's a Georgia guy. And I'm talking all this trash, saying we're going to win a state championship. I mean, it was just cool watching it on the smart board.
Yeah.
And then the snow happens. I'm like, oh my God, like this is crazy. That team, though, Quaker Valley, they were legit. It's not,
That team was that for them, they called it like a Cinderella story, I guess. Guess they had a new coach that came in only like a week before the season or whatnot, something like that. But that team was a very well coached team, and I mean their quarterback just in general was probably one of the toughest guys I've ever played against. When you have a quarterback that then plays middle linebacker, that's a tough son of a gun.
all right. So 2017, you make it to that state championship game. Unfortunately, second straight year, you guys fall a little bit short against just another great opponent from District 7. But by every standard possible, another very, very successful season. You guys scored 621 points in a season, which is just off the charts. You only give up 141 points for the entire season. 41 of those points were in the state championship game. So minus that game, you gave up 100 points in 14 games. 2017, you guys scored 621 points. That is the number one all-time in Middletown football history. 2016, you scored 609 points, and that is the second most all-time in Middletown football history. You are coming into the 2018 season. This is your senior year. I'm sure expectations were very high. Being the quarterback for an offense like Middletown had the past 2 years, and with the numbers that you put up, I can imagine there was chatter going on. There was stress on your shoulders. How much pressure did you put on yourself going into the 2018 season?
I would honestly say that I didn't try and put that much pressure on myself. I think I definitely felt the pressure. I would say we all felt the pressure a little bit, but at the end of the day, our goal was still the same, and that kind of diminished that pressure a little bit because we were just focused on getting back to where we were.
And of course, having those running backs must have been nice to rely on Who were your running backs that year? Jose and
We had Jose Lopez, Richie Sykes, and we had a sophomore that year named Odell Green.
so this is where Jose Lopez starts to take over as the man in the Middletown running game. Yourself, Joe Gussler, Cole Sr., and Gage Radaball as the captains. So you're the starting quarterback, it's your senior year, and you're a captain of the team. What were your expectations going into this season?
Expectations were high. This was the year that we all felt like we were gonna win states. Um, However, in the media, they differed a little bit. I would say they thought more that Milton Hershey would end up winning our league and that we wouldn't even win our own league. So that definitely motivated us, especially after those previous 2 seasons that we were coming off of. We definitely felt like we had something to prove.
Again, you opened up with Lower Dolphin. Iron Spikes 2 years in a row. Not much of a game, 42-14. Northern, you win 29-6. Both of those were away games. And then you come home to play Bishop McDevitt, obviously a powerhouse in our area. And you guys get beat pretty good, 40-14. Do you mind just talking about that game?
That game was tough. They had obviously a lot of weapons on the offensive side and the defensive side. We did not execute as much as we would like on the offensive side of the ball. We had our opportunities, we just didn't succeed. That was honestly our early taste for the younger guys that we had on the team, of what a state team would be like when we got there. So that was honestly kind of a positive thing to get out of the way, in a sense, just so that we had that experience and a little bit of a humbling going on for the rest of the season.
It's probably crazy looking back now, but there's a lot of championship teams that they do need to go through some type of experience like that in the season. So that might have been your guys' wake-up call. I don't know. Obviously, I wasn't there. I wasn't involved in the game. Bishop McDevitt may have been a better team at that point, but it looks like from an outside perspective, you guys learned some things and you got yourselves together. Because if you look at these next games here, the games after that McDevitt loss, 63 points the next week, 63-0 shutout against Camp Hill. You have a shootout, 48-40 against Steel High. We'll come back to that in a second. Boiling Springs, you put up 51 points on, 51-14. So and then 42 points after that, 42-0 shutout against Trinity. So you guys are definitely, the offense is clicking. You're scoring points. You're not giving up a whole lot. Let's talk about that Steel High game. 48-40 win against Steel High. This was at their place on a Friday. Just you guys both going back and forth, putting up huge numbers. Do you mind just explaining what was going on there with that game?
That game kind of reminded me of like the Trinity game from the year prior. Once again, all 3 phases of the game, offense, defense, and special teams, we scored on, we had success with, but at the same time, it just seemed like everything we did, they had a counter for it. And because it's a rivalry, we and Steel High were definitely more motivated than probably a little bit than usually we are for a game, just because it's bragging rights, because that's our rival. One thing I remember in particular is Richie Sykes that game. He was like a jack of all trades. He had a couple rushing touchdowns. I think he had a receiving touchdown. interception return for a touchdown, and he had a kickoff return for a touchdown. He definitely played his heart out that entire game. That's one guy that stood out to me.
So you beat Steel High 48-40. The next week, not much of a challenge with Boiling Springs, 51-14. And then here comes this game that you talked about, Milton Hershey. As you mentioned, newspapers were picking Milton Hershey to beat you guys to win the division. And you end up pulling out a victory 32-21. Please describe that game.
That game was tough. That was hard-nosed football right there. Each team was trying to give it their all. At halftime, I'm pretty sure we were tied or we were actually down. And we came out on fire, ended up taking the lead, and we just basically never looked back from there. We stayed ahead. Defense stayed strong. We definitely played our hearts out, and we definitely wanted to prove something in that game that we were still on top.
So you get that tough win against Milton Hershey, 32-21. You said you never looked back once you got the lead in that game. Also, in terms of the schedule, you guys never looked back. Trinity, 42-0. East Pennsboro, 28-0. Palmyra, 42-6. And that concludes your regular season. So again, you guys are in the playoffs. Your offense is rolling, your defense is shutting people down, and boom, here we go again. Wyo missing. Third straight year, I believe. Is that right?
Yeah, that was a mud bowl.
Third straight year you're playing Wyo missing in the playoffs. This game you mentioned was a mud bowl.
It had poured the day before and earlier in the day of that game. And when we got to the field, it was just a slush mud pit. Pretty much War Memorial Field was just one giant mud puddle. It seemed like everywhere you went, you were sinking into the grass or mud. And it definitely was a old school style game, I would say. But it was just funny seeing them go. Wyoming had all white uniforms. It went from the beginning of the game where they were all fresh and clean, looking nice, and then by the end of the game, they looked like the Cleveland Browns. That was another one that I think we had a lot of fun during that game. I think the linemen enjoyed playing in the mud that game.
Well, you guys easily beat Wyoming that year, 41-6. Next up was Bermudian Springs. This is the district championship game. And this game actually was delayed on Friday. And it's played at Cedar Crest. So now you're playing on a Saturday, November 17th at Cedar Crest for the district championship game against Bermudian Springs. What do you remember from that game?
I remember them delaying the game, and Coach Coach Myers pretty much just had a team meeting and basically just wanted to clarify with everybody that nothing changes. We're still gonna have the same game plan. We're gonna still go with everything that we were planning on going with. Just gave us an extra day to prepare going into it. When we got there, it was freezing. I mean, there was ice. It seemed like there was a frost a little bit everywhere. But when we finally got to the game, everyone was warmed up. Everyone was ready to go. That game, we had our defense pretty much shut them out for most of the game until probably in the fourth quarter. I don't want to say we let up, but it was we were trying to impose our will on them hard that game. I remember We ran the ball so well that game. Their coach said something that I'll never forget because I've never heard a quote like this. He said they have a lot of horses in the barn over there. And I was like, that's a strange quote, but thanks for the compliment.
So you beat Bermudian Springs 42-20. You win another district championship, and you are back into the state playoffs. Again, a familiar opponent, Conwell Egan. This was played at Milton Hershey Friday, November 23rd. And this one was a little bit closer than before. This was a 21-14 victory for Middletown. Any memories you want to share?
Just an absolute dogfight. Couple of plays that stood out to me were there was one play where their running back, he literally had just received the ball. I think they were trying to do like a jet play, and Cole Senior, it seemed like no one even touched him, which was a pretty bad idea. And he absolutely blew the running back up, and that just got the fans going crazy after that. And then to close the game out, they had fumbled the snap or something, and I just remember watching Gage rat a ball coming through the line, and it seemed like he leaped. I don't even know how many feet he leaped, but it seemed pretty far. And he just out of nowhere took the ball and just rolled over, and that was it. It was just like, oh my gosh, we're gonna get out of this. So that was pretty incredible. That was probably one of the most stressful games I've ever been a part of.
You do pull out the victory. You're moving on, state playoffs, and here comes another opponent you guys faced, Scranton Prep. This was November 30th at Bethlehem, neutral site, state semifinals. What do you remember from that game?
Oh, I remember going into it. It was supposed to be like a revenge game or whatever for Scram Prep, and Coach Myers just kind of basically shushed all that out for us and just basically told us like, look, this is just another game. We're gonna have our game plan. We're gonna go into this ready to go. And we were like, all right. Went into it, trusted everything that he said. Went into it. We played great on defense, ran well on offense, passed the ball pretty well on offense. I actually remember right before half, we ran the same pass play 2 plays in a row, and I threw it to Richie Sykes on both plays, and both times they did not, no one covered him. So that was pretty cool to see, and that definitely got us amped up and excited. Um, what's another thing that was exciting? Oh, there was one play in particular where Jose got a handoff, and I remember he ran, and while he was running down the sideline, I don't know if he felt like the guy was gonna catch him because no one was ever really gonna catch him, but he decided to cut back, and that was just he just kind of prolonged another touchdown for himself a little bit there. Um, One other play was Richie Sykes basically went full beast mode on one play as well. He took a handoff and went down the away team's sideline, and he must have thrown like 5 or 6 guys off of him. I actually remember being right beside him at one point, and I stood there and stopped because I thought he was going to be down. And then the next thing I know, he just sprung out and ran an extra 30 yards for a touchdown.
Beating Scranton Prep 35-21. Again, you win the Eastern Championship in Pennsylvania, and you are on to another state championship game. This is your 3rd year in a row Middletown is in the state championship game. Hershey Park, you guys are familiar with the place. District 17, 3rd year in a row playing a District 17. This time it's Aliquippa. Not sure how much you knew then or even now, but Aliquippa, definitely tons of history there. Very well respected program in Pennsylvania football history. But this is your 3rd chance, your senior year. You're a captain. Guys have been there 2 times before. Unfortunately, fell a little bit short. I can only imagine how bad you wanted this one for your senior year as a captain. What were your thoughts and feelings going into this game against Aliquippa?
Uh, we definitely were ready to play and ready to go. The score, I would say, does not indicate how well we actually played defensively. I mean, at halftime, it was only 7-0. It was just an absolute dogfight. What I remember from that game was that we generally just could not get anything going on offense, no matter what we tried. Um, they had a lot of personnel and a lot of big guys. I think just overall they ended up wearing us down after the first half, going into the second half. Um, yeah, not really much to say. It was just disappointing that we couldn't pull through on for the seniors there.
2018, again, by all standards, another very successful season. You guys were 13-2, made it to another state championship game. For you, that was your third straight year to Hershey Park as a representative of the eastern side of the state for the state championship. You personally improved your statistics your senior year. You were 92 of 174, 1,553 yards, 52.8 completion percentage, 15 touchdowns, and 7 interceptions. Again, fantastic numbers, a fantastic season. So I don't know. I guess after the Aliquippa game, how long did it take for it to settle in on like that was my last game? I'm not playing Middletown football anymore.
We had probably one last team meeting. I don't know if it was that Monday when we were in school, or I mean after school that Monday, or if it was a week after, or however long. But coach usually tries to have a meeting with the entire team when a season's over, and it was after that meeting where we all kind of realized, like, okay, this is it. We're done. That was tough.
Scott Ash, you played 2016, 2017, and 2018. Some of the most successful years in Middletown football history. As a starter, you were 27-3. In your 3 years of Middletown football history, you were a district champion 3 times. You won the division 3 times. You won the district 3 times. You won the Eastern Pennsylvania Championship 3 times. You went to 3 straight state championship football games. Something not many other Middletown football players can say, only from your era. Your offenses were putting up astronomical numbers, some of the most successful offenses in Middletown history, some of the most successful defenses in Middletown football history. An era that may never be repeated again. I know the community was really proud of you guys. I'm sure in the moment, and maybe not even now, you may not have realized how difficult it was just to even get to that state championship game. So at some point, you may hear jokes or chatter or some negative talk about not winning those 3 championship games. But believe me when I say you guys really revived the community. You made us all proud. I'm glad the community came out and supported you guys and went to all those playoff games. I hope you felt the love from the community, because me personally down here in Georgia, I was excited. I was pumped up. So I can only imagine how you guys felt, all the pressure and things like that you had to deal with on a week-to-week basis. Middletown appreciates you. Glad you had a very successful career.
Thank you.
The one thing I would like to ask with Brett Myers going out, I'd kind of like to get some of you guys that played with him to, if I could just record any type of message you want to say to him. Is there anything you would like to say to Brett Myers leaving Middletown football?
I would just say thank you for everything you did for me, Coach. You really put a lot of time and effort into not only just me, but everyone else. You were more than just a coach. You definitely helped us and taught us life lessons. Um, I would just like to wish you the best in your future endeavors and hope everything goes well for you. And thank you for everything, Coach.
Can you do a Brett Myers impersonation?
No, I'm not gonna do that.
Gage Radaball, Cole Sr., and Joey Gusler as your captains.
And myself.
You were also a captain?
Yeah, we had 4 captains.
Hang on a second, let me add that in there. Glad you told me that. I figured you would have been.